And welcome back to the channel, and most importantly to each a good day. Well, you're looking at the engine compartment of a 2021 Jeep Compass, and this has got the 2.4 four-cylinder, as you can see here. And you've seen this particular Jeep in a few videos on this channel. The most recent was when we took out the third-party remote start and converted it over to a fully factory integrated remote start. But in this video, we're just going to be doing a little bit of a routine maintenance. We're going to do the cabin air filter because it's due at this point, as well as its oil change, which is also due. Now, prior to this point, so from 2021 till now, this vehicle was being serviced by the dealer for its oil changes because it came with quite a few free with the vehicle, plus an additional oil change program was purchased, and that program has since come to an end, so we're just going to take over those responsibilities. So that being said, you can see that we've got our dipstick pulled out as an indicator that we're doing service work on this one, most importantly oil. So it's a nice indicator to let us know, do not start this vehicle until we check the oil first, because again, it does happen, and it can happen where individuals will do a drain, forget they haven't put oil in it, or the one technician will walk away, another technician will show up, not know to check it, and then go to drive off and not realize there isn't any oil in it. So again, gives us a nice visual indicator. Plus you can do things such as take the oil fill cap, you can see me take it off here, and just put it right there on the latch. That way you can't close the hood of this vehicle without hitting that, and then it becoming an indicator that you need to check it. But as you see me do with a lot of other vehicles on this channel, or pretty much all the vehicles on this channel, we're going to be going back in with some AMS oil. And this particular year and vintage of Jeep requires 0W20. So you can see we got 5.5 quarts, which is what the book as well as the AMS oil website says is the capacity for this vehicle. This is the oil filter they list. Now this one uses a typical canister type oil filter. It does not use the cartridge, and I'll show you that here in a bit. We're going to go back in and replace the drain plug with one of these Fumoto valves. Hopefully I said that correctly. You see me use these before on this channel. I know individuals, I don't want to say there's a love-hate with these valves, but there are a lot of individuals that are skeptical that these may leak or just all of a sudden come undone on their own. And I can tell you, I've got these on 1500s, 2500s, to include even the Hellcat, for years, and these have been fine. They never leaked, and we'll show you this a bit more later. But they got a nice spring-loaded clip in here. They're not going to just spontaneously open themselves up. Plus there's a nice little locking tab that also goes on top of this to help keep that lever in place. Not that it needs it, but it's extra security. Now they'd also make a little locking ring if you really need a third level of security on this, that it will go over and cinches down in place and gives you that extra feel good. But again, I've used these for years, never had a problem with it. So in order to keep us from having to constantly remove and replace the drain plug, since again we'll be taking over the service on this vehicle, I'm just going to install one of these valves. And you can see that it uses the M14 by 1.5 thread pitch, and this will be the cabin air filter that we will be going back in with. I believe this is the correct one. I've got a stack of these because actually I need to do these in all the vehicles. So if this part number changes, we'll update that when I get to that section of the video. And of course, we went ahead and just bought this from AMS Oil since we were there. This is just their size of oil filter wrench that will fit their filter. Now the nice thing on this Jeep is that it sits up high enough, at least for me, that I can get underneath and get access to the drain plug and the oil filter without having to jack this vehicle up. So we won't be putting it on jack stands because there's, again, no need to do so, and I'd much rather have it sitting only, I've said this before, only about as high as it needs. Now I apologize, I'm going to get you a little bit sideways here to show you this, but the oil filter, as you can see, is right here, right in front of the vehicle. So that's your front bumper. And if we come down underneath, almost center line, I would say, you can see we've got our oil filter right here. And right there on the back where you
see if I can point to this here yet. Right there is our oil drain plug. So again, we've got enough room that at least I can squeeze underneath here, but if you do have to jack the vehicle up, just make sure that you're being as safe as possible when you do that, in the event that you need to do that. So what I'm going to do is get a drain pan underneath here and go ahead and get this bolt crack loose. Now I know that there's been kind of a request to show me doing more of this rather than just kind of editing and cutting straight to it, but literally the only thing you're going to see me do is cracking that drain plug loose and starting this thing draining and getting this oil filter off. So I will try to get you onto this shot to show this to you, but if you miss it, you're not missing anything. It's literally just watching oil drain and getting an oil filter out of here. So with that being said, let me get some additional tools underneath here and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So I got you on tripod here underneath, just trying to get maybe start adding some action shots here to the videos. So we've got a 13mm socket and just on a small 3/8 ratchet. As you can see, we got our drain pan at the ready, and yes, we did remove the little red stopper that's in the center of these that cover up the port. If you're familiar with these drain pans, if you ever want a fun experience, you can do like I did one day and you can forget to put that little red stopper out before you start to fill and realize you've got just seconds to either put the drain plug back in or get that stopper out of there. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Let me get in a little bit better of an angle to grab this wrench and see if we can crack this drain plug loose and see how tight the last tech put this on. Just making sure I got my ratchet going the right way here. You can use a wrench for this. I prefer the ratcheting wrenches, but sometimes I've noticed when I get these in and I'm doing the oil change on them for the first time, I don't want to say that they're all doing this, but I've noticed that a lot of times when you get them from when they've been serviced at the oil change places or even at the dealership, nothing wrong against them, not speaking ill of anyone, but sometimes they tend to be a little bit tighter than they should be. Yep, that is on there. Somebody's went to town on this thing. Okay, I'm gonna have to change my angle. I need to get where you're at in order to grab this thing. So let me pause you, kind of get things repositioned here, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So I got you slid over a little bit. I'm in a little bit better angle. Let's see if we can get this drain plug crack loose. Jesus. Okay. There is no need for that drain plug to be that tight. Wow. Nope. We're gonna have to fall back and regroup. That should not be that tight. That feels like somebody put that on with an impact. That is ridiculous. Okay. Well, let me go grab something a little bit longer handle, get a little bit more leverage on that, and I'll bring you back. But yeah, I don't know if you saw it in the camera, but I was pretty much moving the entire vehicle, and yeah, it shouldn't require that much torque. So one moment. And welcome back. Well, I think we got it. I ended up having to use some bit more leverage to get this drain plug to crack loose, and I'll show you what I put on the end of this ratchet. Ended up having to put a cheater bar on it to get it to start. There we go. Sorry, I bumped the camera. My apologies. You can see, even after breaking it loose with the cheater bar, it still took quite a bit of effort. There's no need for that drain plug to be that tight. So I don't want to say that they used an impact, but I got to move you back here a little bit to get the drain pan in the way. Get the drain pan underneath. Damn, but even then, still can't move it by hand. see here, it is coming out, but looks like it's going to be a fight to the end. So hopefully they didn't mess the threads up on this when they put this in, which is why it's so tight. I bumped my ratchet setting. Make sure we're still in the right gear here. Yeah, there we go. We got it. Yeah, this thing is tight. And there we go. Threads on the drain plug feel okay, but like I said, we're going to replace this with a Fumoto valve. So we'll let that go ahead and drain out. And I'm going to pause you and I'll bring you back and I'll show you the little bit of cheater pipe that I used to get this to finally break free. Just one moment.
And welcome back. Well, here's our drain plug. The threads look okay. It doesn't look like anything's been marred up or damaged, but you can tell from the head of this bolt, hopefully you can see that there, that a lot of these flats have been hammered on pretty good. So chances are, if I had to guess, I think this is probably the original drain plug. More than likely it is. I don't think they would have had the need to change it. Looks like it's got this integrated permanent sealing gasket on it. But wow, they either hammered on this with an impact, or you got an individual, just a really long wrench and just a lot of grit. But this is the wrench that we were using originally. Yeah, it's not a very long one, but again, it should have been able to generate more than enough torque to get that to crack free. So we ended up just using the 3/8 with a 13mm and adding a little bit of extra cheater pipe to the end of that ratchet and just kind of going really steady and easy with it, and finally got this to break free. But wow, it definitely, whoever did this change last at the dealership definitely did not want this to come loose, but thankfully it looks like the threads are fine. So we're going to go ahead and let this continue to kind of drip and drain, and then we'll bring you back and see if getting the oil filter off is going to prove as interesting as getting the drain plug out. We'll see how much effort they put that on with. So one moment. And welcome back. So we got you back on the tripod underneath, and you can see you're kind of staring at the oil filter roughly about the center of the screen here. And we've got an oil filter wrench just on a small 3/8 extension, just kind of ready to go. And the oil pan, you can see, is just over here off to the side. So we've got the oil pan just situated where we can just kind of grab the end of it like this when we're ready and just swing it towards us to get underneath that filter once it starts to drip. And the nice thing is, like I said, I do like the layout of where they have it on this compass. You know, you may be able to see it kind of here over here where I'm pointing on the far left of your screen. We're still dripping from where the oil pan was at, but you can get one of these nice squarish elongated drain pans underneath the oil plug and the filter at the same time. Or I should say drain plug and the filter at the same time. And this little cap that you see me using, I've had this for years. I just picked it up at the auto parts store one year. Looks like this is an 8-inch oil filter cap. It seems to fit at least the factory filter. Okay, and it should help us get this filter out of here. Now I do have a prefer a set of JM3 wrenches. But I don't have one on this side, but I've sent them an email to get one that'll fit these filters. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. They didn't put that filter on that tight at all. I actually probably could have got that off by hand. That only took a couple of small turns. Not like that oil plug though. Okay, I'm gonna move you back a little bit, just so I can get the oil pan in a better position. There we go. I think we got it where we need it.
Let me see if you can still see. Yep, you can still see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see that we started to drip. So we'll go ahead and let that finish dripping, and then we'll get that out of there, and then we'll bring it back. So one moment.
And welcome back. Well, we're down to about a drip down there, so we're getting ready to put our Fumoto valve in place of our drain plug. Now, it's Fumoto or Fumoto. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. But once again, as you saw earlier, we're using the F106, which is the M14 by 1.5 thread pitch. That is suitable for this vehicle, as well as many others. And we are just using the flat face valve that you just looked at earlier. Now, we've got our gasket on. Now remember, even inside the little piece of cardboard here that seals up their package, they've got your installation instructions. Now we've already got our fiber gasket on, but pay close attention to number 4 here, where it says torque. Tighten with a crescent wrench on the valve, the body of the valve, which is this square valve. This is what they want you to use to tighten this valve. Some of these versions of these valves have like a little hex end here. They don't want you putting a socket on that and tightening by that method. Again, just on the body of the valve, standard crescent wrench. Doesn't take much. And you can see on this particular valve, there's asking for 18 foot-pounds, 221 inch-pounds, or about 1/8 of return past hand tight. So I'd like to put these on the same way I do the drain plugs themselves. So once this gasket meets that oil pan and it's seated around, we're just going to give it about another 1/8 of return, and we're going to consider that good. You don't have to go full ugga-duggas on these. You definitely do not want to strip them out. So use your own judgment on that one, what you feel comfortable with. Again, I like to put these on just a little bit more than hand tight. It doesn't take much. So what we're going to do is let that finish dripping. We're going to get that surface cleaned up and get this ready for reinstall. So one moment.
And welcome back. You'll have to forgive the background noise. It is the weekend, and my neighbors have started working on their lawns, as I need to do after this, actually. I'm going to try to block some of that sun out from washing out the camera, but you can see we've got our valve in, and we've got it just hand tight at this point, so that gasket is mated all around the oil pan. And an interesting note on these that I forgot to mention before is if you have an oil pan that doesn't have like this nice big flat surface that the drain plug goes into, they do make adapters that'll help space these valves out to help with that sealing surface. But hopefully it shows up on the camera. I took a silver Sharpie and marked it across the where it says Fumoto on the side of the body of the valve. And you can see right here in the oil pan. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of extra turn. There you go. That's actually a little bit more than hand tight I was able to get on there. I'm going to give this a little bit more with a crescent wrench, and I'll come back and show you kind of where all of this ended up. But it doesn't need much more than where it's at right now. So let me just give this a small kind of, not even a micro ugg-dug, I guess if you want to call it that. I'll bring it back and show you what it looks like. One moment. And welcome back. So I got you about as close as I could with the tripod. You can see our silver mark on our oil pan. You can see that the logo that was pointed at that silver mark is now just a hair, maybe about no more than 1/8 to maybe 1/4 of a turn past that mark. And you may be able to see it here in the camera, but that's where that little valve piece ended up, where our little lever's at. So if we grab our lever off here to the side and just pull it forward, there we go. You can hear it lock in place. A little tight at first when you first get them, which that's not a bad thing. And you can see our lever locks in. It's not hitting our oil pan. It's perfectly secured. So it is spring loaded. So if we push forward to fight against the tension of the spring, we can then slide it forward, and that opens the valve. So the valve is open. And if we pull back on it, you'll hear that kind of click in place as it locks in. That valve is now closed. And what I'm looking for is just a little plastic piece. We're going to go ahead and put that on. It fits around that little barrel piece. It's got a little slit on the side of it that accounts for the lever. So if we just take that little opening there, that little slice, put it around our lever, put that up in place, and there you go. It locks in now. Maybe I can, hopefully I can tilt the camera back enough to get you to see this. Hopefully that's, the viewfinder's out of my view, so that should get you in there where you can see it. Hopefully that'll comes out in editing. But there we go. So we're in, we're tight, we got our valve closed, we got our clip in place. And like I said, if you want a little bit more security than these little tab puts on as far as locking this in, they do make a metal version of this. It kind of looks like one of the old school hose clamps that you can squeeze together, and it fits over the barrel and helps to lock this lever in place in case you need the extra security. But what I'm going to work on now is just getting the oil filter in here, and then I'll bring you back. One moment.
And welcome back. So I got you a little bit in the shade here, trying to keep you out of the sun. You'll have to forgive the background noise of all the landscaping work taking place. Now, I'm not looking to start a debate in the comments below, but if you're an individual who likes to pre-fill your oil filters, then so be it, do it. If you don't like to do so, then obviously don't do so. It is ultimately your vehicle and your decision. But what I like to do on these oil filters is the same as the drain plugs. Now we've got our gasket pre-oiled, as you can see there. Now once that gasket hits that mating surface, then I like to go probably no more than maybe about a quarter to a half a turn. Generally what I will do is I will then take a Sharpie once that gasket hits that surface and make a mark just so it's nice and visible, and then use that mark as a gauge to tell me how far I need to turn it. But generally, kind of just like I like to do the drain plugs, it doesn't take much. There's no need to go full Hercules strength on these when you get them tightened up. That gasket is there for a reason. Let that gasket do its job. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed, and I'll bring you back. One moment.
And welcome back. So just going to kind of get you underneath here to show you what we're looking at. So we got our oil filter installed, and you can see that little bit of silver Sharpie mark kind of to the left of where the label stops, a little bit past the left where the label stops. And I'm going to try to do this and hold the camera steady at the same time. So that gasket's seated, and I just want to show you kind of, again, what I do is that's probably about a quarter, and right there is nice and firm. Again, I can still turn it a little bit by hand, and that's probably about a half a turn, half to maybe not even quite 3/4 of a turn. There we go. And generally that's where I like to stop. It doesn't take much more than that, at least in my opinion, in my experience. So let's go ahead and get you top side, and we'll get our oil put back in, or start filling it with nice fresh clean oil. So one moment.
And welcome back. Well, we're getting ready to fill our vehicle back up with nice fresh clean AMS oil, as you can see here. Now, a nice thing about AMS oil website, when you put in your make and model, generally they'll tell you what the quart capacity is, and they'll kind of sell you a kit. And this was bought as a kit. So we got the filter, we got the 5.5 quarts of oil that we needed for this particular vehicle. So we got 4 quarts, a single quart, and they even gave you this little cute half quart bottle again, which again came as a kit. So we're gonna get all this added in now. Rainman Ray, who runs an automotive YouTube channel, has a reseller code that you can use to get a discount on the AMS oil products. So I use that on top of, I'm a member of their AMS oil, I think it's preferred customer club, something of that nature, so you get an additional discount. So those two things factored in, you actually get some really good pricing on these particular products here. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get our oil added in, and then we'll check it with our stick and then give it a test fire and see, make sure there's no leaks. So again, I'm not going to film it, but all I'm going to do is just get this oil added in place, and I'll bring you back. So one moment. And welcome back. So we're sitting inside the vehicle. We got our new oil change sticker filled out, and I'll show you, but they actually gave this to me free in the kit. It actually came with a pair of disposable gloves, this oil change sticker, as well as a disposable one-use funnel. So actually it was kind of cool. And yes, if you're looking at that, I do subscribe to the 3-month, 3,000-mile oil change. I do not subscribe to the extended life oil changes that a lot of vehicles manufacturers have gone over to. I've seen enough sludged up engines in my day that I would rather spend the extra money and do a 3-month, 3,000-mile service. Just pay a little extra money in time and just changing the oil more frequently versus having to either repair or replace an entire engine. Now, I wanted to show you oil pressure, but interesting enough, on this particular model Jeep, they have oil temperature but not pressure. All right, so we're just going to have to keep an eyeball on the other instrument lights and make sure that we don't see the little oil can light show up on the dash. But we're filled up, we're topped up, we checked our dipstick, we're well within the safe range. We've got our 5.5 quarts in. Let's see what we get. Sounds nice and smooth. Nothing's complaining as of yet. That's good. Yeah, you would immediately see a red light on the dash if we didn't have oil pressure at this point. Make sure I don't have any leaks. Sounds nice and quiet. Sounds nice and smooth. Let's check underneath. Sorry, I got you sideways. I apologize. But there we go. We're not dripping. We're not spewing oil. She looks good. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this run for a few more minutes. We'll power it down and we'll do one final check on our oil level, and then we'll do that when we come back, and then we'll start looking at changing out that cabin air filter. So I'll bring you right back. One moment. And welcome back. So we've let that run for a little bit. Yes, you can see that we did in fact place our sticker in our windshield. And again, in case you didn't see it earlier, yes, these are the vinyl static clean type stickers. These are the nice ones. These are the ones that are easy to apply and easy to remove. So what I'm going to do next is I'm not going to start it. I'm just going to start to power it on, as you see here, and just depress the gas pedal 3 times in a row. And that should reset the oil life on this. Now, unfortunately, it seems to be another piece of information that is not available, at least readily on this cluster, is to see the oil life, because I can't find it. Now, I'm sure if it were due, that it would pop a message up on the screen, maybe that it was due. Again, even when the dealer was servicing this under the free oil changes, I would take it in 3 months or 3,000, so it never really got to the point, if this vehicle is tracking it and would alert to it, it never would have really got to a factory service interval to see it. But my understanding from what I can find on the research, and it seems to be pretty common with the Dodge Chrysler vehicles, is just ignition on, engine not running, depress and release the gas pedal 3 times in a row, and that will supposedly reset it. So with that being done, let me get you propped up. We'll check our oil level now that we've run for a little bit and we've had time to sit for a little bit, and then we'll bring you right back. One moment. And welcome back. Well, now that we sat for a little bit, had a little bit of run time on it, again, no leaks, so that's awesome. Let's get our dipstick out here. And let's give it a nice wipe down, and then we'll go for a check. Now, I know a lot of people don't often thank engineers for their engineering work, but I would like to thank the engineers on this particular engine for putting the oil filter nice and up front and easy to get to and serviceable. It's awesome. Let's see, we are right, it's kind of hard to see. It looks like we are right about here in our dipstick. Yeah, like I said, it's with this being stainless and this being nice fresh oil, may not be coming through, but we're right about here. So we're about a halfway into our safe zone. So that is awesome. That is beautiful. That's what we are looking for. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pause you. I'll bring you back and we'll start looking at changing out that cabin air filter. So one moment. And welcome back. Well, you can see we're on the passenger side of the vehicle at this point. just getting access to where the cabin air filter is, which you can see right there. It's behind this metal bar that we have to take off out of the way. It's got a Torx bit on it, as well as a nut on here, 2 fasteners to remove, and then we can get this Phillips then out of the way and get this door off. Now, it is nice that this particular trim level does include a cabin air filter. However, it's not a pain to change this out, but it's also not the easiest one to get to. Now, yes, you do see that I did remove the entire glove box assembly, and I'll explain. Most of the time when you have a vehicle that has a cabin air filter, you can usually just squeeze these ears that you see in this case for just the glove box door and be able to drop the door out of the way. However, in this one, you can see we got a damper assembly here, which is physically attached to the door. So even if you were to put some He-Man size strength on here, which you can do, and kind of pull these ears out of the way to clear the stops, to drop the door down, this is attached to the glove box door in the back. And it would maybe kind of a bit of a pain to get this to disconnect without breaking it, trying to remove just the door. Like I said, it's not terrible. It's like a little bit of a pain to have to remove the entire assembly, but if I recall correctly, even the service information says just to drop the glove box as a whole. Normally that dampener isn't attached to the back of the glove box door, as you see right here. It's usually kind of attached over here on the right hand side, where you can kind of just push it out of the way, get it to unclip, and then drop it down. But for whatever reason, that's the way they decided to handle it. But on the behind this piece of trim on the passenger side, you can just pop this out of the way. It has just clips and hold it in. There's a Torx screw here. There's 3 Torx screws here across the top, and you can see them on the bottom. There's a Torx screw there and there. So you've got 3, 4, 5, you've got 6 fasteners. This will pull forward, but be mindful of that electrical connection. Normally what I like to do, just to kind of show you, is that when this pulls forward, just kind of grab it with one hand towards the bottom so it doesn't free fall on you, and then you can get access to the electrical connection if you happen to have that glove box light. Get that unclipped, and then the entire assembly will kind of fall out of the way. And then you can get access to your prize, which in our case happens to be access to get this cabin air filter out. So again, you can see that in there is that we've got a Torx fastener here. We've got another bolt type fastener there. And then finally for the filter door itself, we got another Phillips right here. So let me get all that taken out, and then we'll get that door off, and I'll bring you back when the filter's removed. One moment. And welcome back. So you can see that we've got our door out of the way. Now, in case you're curious, it is a T25 Torx to get that bracket off, a 10mm socket on the other side of the bracket, and a Phillips screwdriver. So all the Torx fasteners, to include the ones to take the glove box out, are all T25. So you're going to need a T25, you're going to need a 10mm socket, and finally a Phillips screwdriver to finally get that filter door off. But now we have the filter door off, and this is the replacement filter here below. You can see it's the same make and part number, so I'm going to go back in with the same one I replaced this with previously. So we can just kind of reach in here, push it on the side a little bit, grab our old filter. Now it's not too terrible, but you can see there is some little bit of dirt accumulation in the pleats, so it's doing exactly what it should be doing. And this has got about a year or so use on it. And it does have the activated charcoal in it. It's supposed to help with odors, things of that nature. But let's get the new one put back in, or put in. I shouldn't say put back in, but put in. Once I get my display to wake up so I can see what you're seeing. So again, we're going to keep the airflow in the same direction as the old one. In this case, its airflow is pointing down. All we got to do is get that lined up. Oh, once I can get it lined up, there we go. Push that in place, and now we can put our door back on. This is our door here. Remember, you've got that Phillips, which goes in the lower corner, and you've got our fastener, which is on the right hand side. So you can kind of see a little tab there. What I generally like to do is take our filter door, get the tab in on the side first. Once I can get that to engage, there we go, it's in. and then take the door and then just push it forward. Now, usually what I see happens is that you see this Phillips tab here kind of hits this other plastic assembly below it. So you kind of have to fidget with this a little bit, kind of come up, over, and around, and then finally push the door forward, and then it'll seat. So you kind of have to get a little bit of a jangle on that, but let me get you some light so you can see that. So I wanted to showcase one of the couple new tools in this video as well. Now this is an OLIGHT, and you can see it's got a 4600 milliamp hour lithium battery. Now I got this from Rainman Ray's merch store. I'm not trying to make this a product placement video, but he is a reseller for these OLIGHTs. And you can see if I turn this on, once I get it to wake up, there it goes. Takes a little bit to unlock it, my apologies. You can see the brightness wheel is actually adjustable. So we can go from a little bit of light to pretty much full lumens of the sun. We can dial that back down to as much, so you get as much or little light as you need. We can turn that off. But the nice thing is you see that charging base, it's magnetic. The charging base actually fits, once I get it unclipped from my belt. I'm sorry, this is new, so the plastic's nice and stiff. That is the charging base that clips onto your belt, but it's also the charging base for the flashlight via the magnetic base that you see on the flashlight here and on the holster here. What I really liked about it was that not only was this rechargeable like most shop lights. Sorry, I know I'm rambling. I'm kind of going off topic here a little bit. But you'll see that battery is replaceable. You can pull that cell out when it comes time, and this lithium cell is at the end of its life, and replace that without an issue. So that is awesome, because I have other shop lights that also have rechargeable lithiums in them, but the batteries aren't serviceable. You can service them, but you're kind of doing that at your own risk type deal. Versus this one, you just got to buy a new cell, pop it in, give it a charge, and you're good to go. So again, so far I'm liking it, but I'll kind of let you know how that goes as we get more and more use into it. Either way, with that being said, you saw we got it in here, so what we got to do now is just put our Phillips screw back in, put our brace in, and get our glove box back in. So I'll go ahead and take care of all that off camera. That's just putting fasteners back in case you wanted to see that bracing. Bolt goes at the top, Torx fastener goes at the bottom, and that just goes back in place like that. And then we'll get our Phillips screw here, and then we'll put our entire glove box back in. So once that's done, I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. Well, in keeping with the title of this video, we're going to move on to Jeep number 2. So in the previous first half of this video, you saw that we completed the service work on the 2021 Jeep Compass, which was again the oil and the cabin air filter, and we also installed the Fumoto valve you see here. Now this one is going to be a 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's a little bit bigger. It's got the V6 in it, so there may be some future content to come on that V6. You know, time will tell, if you know what I mean. Now this Jeep, according to the book, uses 5.9 quarts, aka about 6 quarts of oil. So we've got our new filter. Now this is a cartridge style filter. It's not a canister. It's not a can style filter. It does come with a new gasket for the cap. Speaking of that, this is the other new tool for this channel. You can see it's a GEARWRENCH 6-piece oil filter canister socket set. I'll show you what that's for here in a bit. We're also going to put, as you saw earlier, Fumoto valve on this Jeep, just like on the last one. So it's actually the same part number, same thread pitch, M14 by 1.5. We're also going to need a swivel to use with these sockets. And we've also got our new cabin air filter as well. Now this is the bag that I was telling you about in the first part of the video that I noticed came in the box as well. Okay, AMSOIL, looks like it gives you, at least in this case, gave us a spare set of gloves, a temporary paper funnel, and inside that packaging there's the windshield the vinyl windshield sticker for the oil change reminder. Now, if we go over here to our V6, you'll see right here in the center of the cover, we pulled this centerpiece out. You see that little picture of an oil can. Let me get you some light so you can see this. There we go. You see that little canister right there in the center. That's what we need that adapter set for. So we'll need that and a swivel to get that canister out of there and extract our old cartridge filter to install a new one. Now this vehicle, thankfully, just like the last one, is sitting higher up off the ground that we can actually get underneath and do the work that we need to do without having to put it up on jack stands. Forgive the camera work, I've got to get you underneath here. Let's get this out of the way. And our oil pan is right there. Hopefully you can see the oil drain plug. If I put my hand on it, that's our oil drain plug right there, because this Jeep, just like the last Jeep, is out of its free oil changes and oil change program. So we're going to take over the maintenance on this one, just like on our last one. So there's plenty of surface area there. It's nice and flat, so we shouldn't have any problem getting the Fumoto valve on that. And hopefully someone didn't torque the bejeebus out of this just like they did it on the Compass, but I'll let you know how that goes. I'm not going to film this one because it would be the same procedure you saw me do on the Compass. We're going to get that broke free and get that drained out. I will let you know how that goes and let you know if they torque that to 200 foot-pounds like they did the last one or not. So I'm going to get to working on this, and then I'll bring you right back. One moment. And welcome back. So you can see we got our oil fill cap taken out, put in our normal spot here just so that we don't inadvertently close it. It reminds us we still have work we need to do, as well as our dipstick stick being pulled up and being just another visual indicator so that we don't do something potentially bad. Now if we crawl back underneath here, this oil drain plug thankfully was not on with the strength of Hercules. It actually had a fair well, what I would like to say is a correct amount of torque on it. You can see we got our drain pan at the ready, and yes, we did pop our center fill out of our pan. Oh yeah, and there we go. So awesome. So I'm just actually just going to drop the plug in the pan for right now. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and let that drain. And when that's done and we're ready to take the filter cartridge out, I'll bring you back. So one moment. And welcome back. I don't know how well this is going to work. I've got you kind of just laying on top of the engine cover at this point. Small flashlight down in there so that you can see. We're going to see about getting that cap off. So this is a 24mm socket, or I should say this cap size thing that fits it. Yeah. Let's see, let's make sure we're on that, and we are. It's got a nice perch there. Let's make sure we're going in the right direction. There we go. Had a little bit of torque on it. Yeah, that swivel socket I have it on there is not the greatest. That's why that extension keeps popping out. Okay, looks like we are up and out. So I'm gonna have to block your view a little bit to get down in there to get that out of there. And I can hear it draining a little bit of oil now that there's airflow in there. Sorry, there's just no way for me to get a camera in here to get you to see this at the same time. Oh, goody. So we've got a pipe here that's blocking our exit. Okay. I don't want to have to take this out of the way to get that out of there, so I might have to visit with this a little bit, but you're kind of in the way of where I need to be. Let me see if I can get this engine cover completely up and out of here, and that should help us. So let me bring it right back. And welcome back. So you can see we got the cover off. There is one T30 fastener in the center of this cover. You can see it right there. After that, it's just the standard push pins. It just pushes onto a set of little joint receptacles or ball receptacles here. So with that out of the way, you can see we can now get in here, grab our filter and get it out. So not quite sure why they gave you access to a center door in the engine cover if you still have to remove the engine cover to get the filter out, but either way, there's our prize. I need to go change a battery. I need to go change your battery, and we'll be right back. One moment. And welcome back. Now that you got a fresh battery, let's see about getting our cartridge filter changed out. So once again, that is the AMSOIL part number for the filter cartridge that we're using. And this old one should just kind of pull out of here, snap out of place. We'll just kind of toss that off to the side. And then this O-ring, make sure we get this off. If you have a bear getting these out, it's sometimes easier just to grab them with a pick, but I think I can get this one. There we go. Yep. Now remember, when you put this back on, make sure it's in that same groove at the bottom. So there's our new filter, nice and new and clean. And there's our new O-ring, which also again comes with the filter. So let's get this down into where it belongs, which is again in that very bottom groove. And yes, I'm just going to use some of the existing oil that's inside this cap just to lubricate that O-ring so it doesn't go in dry. It's not going to hurt it for it to be a little bit dirty oil. And let's push our new filter in place. Got it. So all we got to do now is drop this back in and screw this back in. I won't bring you along for that. It's literally just the reverse removal, but remember, when you're putting this in, you don't have to do high torque on this. You will feel when that seal sets, and as soon as this stops turning, in other words, this surface here hits up against that adapter housing that's down in there, as you can see there. So that metal, that edge of that adapter housing, you can kind of hopefully see me pointing to. There we go. Once it mates flush with that and you feel that stop turning, then you should be good at that point. You don't have to keep cranking down on it because you don't want to crack this piece. So I'm going to get this reinstalled, clean up my little bit of an oil spill that hit the fan right there, and I'll bring you right back. One moment. And welcome back. You got a little bit of haze over here in the right hand corner just from the sun shining in. See if I can turn you a little bit to get around it. There we go. That cuts out a little bit of it. So I lied to you. I'm going to actually show you a little bit of this after all. So I've started just threading this cartridge housing in by hand to make sure it's nice and threaded and it hasn't started cross threading, so it feels good. It's getting to the point now I can feel where it's hitting the seal, and it's not quite seated, but we're up to the point we're hitting the O-ring. So just get my socket ready off camera here. I'm going to drop the socket off camera. There we go. Yeah, not much effort to put that in, just a little bit. There it is right there. It just mated, and all I'm going to do is say, there we go. Hear that? And that's it. It's done. It won't go any further. I'm not going to push it any further. It doesn't need to be any further than that. So literally, you kind of heard the O-ring hit. You heard this cap meet up with the body, and we should be nice and sealed at that point. So I'm going to go underneath. I'm going to get that Fumoto valve installed. I'll go ahead and get it installed because it probably not going to film it because it's going to be the same process as we did on the Compass, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So one moment.
And welcome back. Well, I got you in as close as I could reach to the Fumoto valve here, so you can see we've got it installed. You can see the kind of the angle it ended up in when it was tight. Now this one, because where it's at, remember this one, because of the positioning, we got to pull it forward when we want to release the lever. But again, you can probably hear that spring tension. So it's now up and locked in place. So we're just going to take our little locking cap here. Remember that little slit on the side is to account for that lever. We'll get that lined up. Then we'll just push that forward, and there you go. You can kind of see in this one versus the other Jeep a little bit better how that clip hugs around that barrel, and those fingers that lever goes in between the fingers on that clip. So we got it in, we got it secured, we got it shut. So now what we can do is just go top side, we'll get the oil in it, and when we're ready to fire it up, we'll bring you back and check for any leaks. One moment.
And welcome back. So I got you zoomed in on the dash here in this Grand Cherokee, and unlike the Compass, you can see the oil life on the dash. So we're not going to start it. The ignition is on, so I believe the same process. If we press down and release the accelerator pedal 3 times in a row, that should reset to 100. There you go. Beautiful. So now it's 100%. And yes, we did put our sticker on. And just like in the Compass, we subscribe to the 3-month or 3,000 interval oil change, whichever comes first. So if we back up, though, we can see oil pressure as well in here. And I'm sorry, the sun's kind of getting to you a little bit. So let's start it up and see what we get. There you go. Oil pressure immediately. Looks like 78 PSI. Perfect. Now we're getting there. It's about 29. Interesting that it started out at 70, 78, jumped down to 29. That's about where I would expect it, considering the temperature right now, and those bottles were sitting out in the sun, so they're pretty warm. But let's check and make sure we don't have any leaks. Yep, not seeing any spills, not seeing any gushers where the oil filter goes.
Also, not seeing any drips or leaks around that Fumoto valve.
So we look good. So I'm gonna pause you. I'm gonna let this run for a little bit. I'll bring you back and we'll check our level. One moment. And welcome back. So we've been shut down for a few minutes after running. Saw no leaks after a few minutes of run time. It's had time to kind of calm down for the oil to get back into the oil pan. Let's check our level here. So as usual, we're just going to disregard and wipe off the first reading. Now, you probably saw when we were draining the oil that it's not too terribly dirty, because again, even when this was being serviced by the dealer as part of the oil change program, I still stuck to the 3-month 3,000. I didn't do their 7,000 plus mile suggested interval. All right, perfect. I don't know if you can kind of, again, it's kind of hard to see because it's brand new oil, but we're right about there. We're not quite up to the top. We're about 3/4 of the way up the stick here, so that's looking good. So awesome. So I'm going to pause you. I'm going to bring you back, and then we're going to take care of doing the cabin air filter in this particular Jeep. So one moment. And welcome back. And inside this Grand Cherokee here on the passenger side, getting ready to do this cabin air filter, it's a bit easier in this one versus the Compass. Let me grab a light here. OLIGHT to the rescue. You can see this little pin right here that the light is shining on. Let me just dial that down a little bit so it's not as bright. This flashlight is cool. See this little pin? We can grab this forward, and what that is, that's that dampener assembly that slows the opening of the glove box just so it doesn't flop. So what we can do is pick up on the glove box. That will really relieve the tension. We can kind of grab this, pull this forward, pop it out of that notch, and I'm just going to let that go for now. But I got to hold it with my fingers, but I'm going to let it go. And then what we can do is pull in on this side, get this side catch to release from the housing of the glove compartment. And then we should be able to work the other side of this out. There we go, it's out. And all it does is then clip off or pop off of the little hinge points here on the bottom of the glove box. Now when you go to put this in, you see this piece of felt, how it kind of wants to roll up. Sometimes you have to kind of reach in here with your hand when you're putting that glove box back in and just kind of pull down on this, because this will want to roll forward and it'll jam up and not allow the glove box to close completely. But if we look up in here, you can see there's our access door to our filter. That is a much easier to get to filter than it is, again, in that compass. You can see there's no additional screws you got to remove, anything of that nature. There's just a release here on the side. You just push that down, and then we should be able to get this to release on this side as well. Once I figure out the side of it that's holding. Okay, there's another catch on top. Sorry, it's been a few days since the last time I did this. There we go. So that one pulls to the side, that release pushes up, and then we can just get our door removed, and there's our filter. Should just be able to grab the edge of this filter, pull this out, just being mindful of the direction of this particular filter. Remember your airflow. So we're just going to put this one in exactly how, put the new one in exactly how we're taking this one out. You have to kind of fight with this little upper shelf of this glove box a little bit, but you can sneak it past. And you can see there, yeah, it's got a little bit of dirt in the pleats. It's not horrible, but we'll go ahead and replace it. Now this is the one that's got the activated charcoal in it, as you can see there. So let me get the new one unwrapped and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So yes, these are aftermarket ones, as you can obviously see. If I didn't mention that, instead of the Chrysler ones, these work just as well. You can hear that they've got little charcoal, activated charcoal beads on that side of the filter. But on this one, you can see it says air in upside. So the direction of airflow, at least in this Jeep, is straight down, just like it was in the Compass. So we want the blue side of this filter to be facing up. And you can see the outside world with the filter removed. Okay, so let's just get this squeezed into its home. A little bit of a squeeze to get it out of here. Like I said, you kind of have to fight this top shelf lip here. There you go. Once you get it in, it's in. And then we can just put our cover plate back on. Remember, it's got the tab here on the side, the tab here on top, and that's on that clips to the end. So what I usually like to do is get this end to clip first and then push it forward to get the top and the side clip back on. Again, this is just going to be hard for me to show you because I can hardly see that myself. There we go. We got the side one on. That one, the top, good deal. So let me get you a bit more light. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of hard to see that end of it, but I was just looping that around the little nubs that come out and hold that side. Once that was in, just using it then as a hinge to push forward and lock the rest of that cover in place. So all we got to do now is get our glove box back in, which is the reverse of the removal, which you literally just pick it up, pop it back in place. Remember to grab your dampener. Just kind of hold on to that, kind of pull that forward slowly, get yourself some slack in that, and you can put that back inside that little hole here, on the little keyhole here on the side. It'll just push in on this end and then slide up, and that'll lock it in place. I'm gonna need both my hands to do this because it's easier to hold this with one hand and the glove box with the other, but you get the idea. I'll get this installed and bring you back. One moment. Okay, so we got our dampener reattached here on the side of the glove box. And then we've got everything reseated. And again, that felt piece at the bottom, let me just close this to show you. There we go. Now, see, that was off a little bit on that side. You'll notice it didn't want to close correctly straight away, but now that that's clipped back in, we can close it and we're good. So this was that felt piece I was telling you about. You can kind of see it gets really close to the bottom of that glove box, and sometimes it just curls up enough, it just kind of gets in your way and causes you a little bit of grief. Matter of fact, let me get you some light on that so you can see that. There we go. Awesome. So once again, I don't know if you saw this in the first clip or not, but this is an OLIGHT. I picked this up off Rainman Ray's merchandise site, and as you can see, it is a variable intensity light. So you can go down to just just a little bit of light, or as much as almost the power of the sun. Awesome, love it. It's rechargeable, comes with a magnetic base to charge it, and the battery in here, the lithium ion cell, you can unscrew this end cap, and this cell is actually replaceable, unlike a lot of shop lights where the rechargeable battery is not. So it's an awesome feature. And the belt clip, I know I covered this in the beginning part of the video, but I'm not being paid to do this. I just like to talk about good products. That's the belt clip. It's a magnetic belt clip. And I'm going to need both my hands to get the light out of here because it's a nice tight fit. But that also doubles as the charging base for that light. So it goes in, magnetic, and then you can plug the USB-C charger in at the bottom. So awesome. Either way, I'm rambling on too much. Got a little bit of sidetrack there. I apologize. But we are done with the service on this vehicle. So we've got the oil change done. We got a new filter. We got a oil change sticker. We've reset our oil interval light, and we went ahead and changed out our cabin air filter. Now these cabin air filters, depending on how much use the vehicle gets, generally I change these out about once a year. Usually the worst time for air in the area of the country I'm in is normally around springtime, and that's when you get a lot of pollen in it. So generally I find about, at least in the area I'm in, about once a year replacements on these are good. Like you can probably see some of the dirt down in the pleats, but it doesn't look horrible. Either way, with that being said, I want to thank you. Again, just getting a little bit of content there on the channel so we don't go idle in the eyes of the algorithm. Hopefully you found this content useful. We've got a lot more in store. We'll be bringing you on more of the routine maintenance intervals type items that we do in these vehicles, as well as, don't forget, you can see our Project Police Charger, our retired all-wheel drive Dodge Charger over there that is still in the works. Again, we're just still scoping out parts for it. We will be doing the 6.4 liter engine swap, high stall torque converter, custom tune, the whole 9 yards. It's just going to be based on parts availability and budget, obviously, as it goes. And with that being said, once again, I wanted to thank you. Hopefully you found this information useful, and I will bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye.